Italy have bottled a third straight World Cup in a wild end to the European and Intercontinental playoffs, and Spurs officially hire Roberto Zerbi. This is DMAC Daily. This might just be the biggest embarrassment in international football history. The four-time World Cup winners have now failed to qualify for a third successive attempt, despite 2026's World Cup being an extended 48-team format. That is beyond a travesty. How many more teams do we need to add for these bums to qualify? But in all seriousness, this is one of the most prestigious footballing countries historically speaking, but the subsequent decay that has followed in the last 2 decades is unlike anything we've ever seen. Even in the last 2 World Cups they actually featured in, they were similarly abysmal back then too, grouped in both 2014 and 2010. The last time this lot actually made it out of the knockout stages of the World Cup, Lamine Yamal wasn't even born yet. Bar that unexpected Euros triumph in 2021, the deterioration has been clear for everyone to see. 2 decades of regressive mediocrity on the world stage. This is clearly not the Azzurri of old. That being said though, their squad had more than enough quality to qualify today. Having eased past Northern Ireland a few days prior, they were heavy favourites heading into their playoff final in Bosnia and Herzegovina. The Balkan battlers previously stunned Wales in Cardiff via penalties, but taking out Italy still seemed unlikely. I mean, the Azzurri squad was significantly more valuable than Bosnia's, and having hit the front early on courtesy of a banger from Moise Kean, Gattuso's men looked on their way to finally ending their World Cup hiatus. Bosnia were creating plenty of chances, but Italy seemed somewhat defensively assured until a moment of utter madness from Alessandro Bastoni changed the equation entirely. Red carded, and Bosnia took full control, peppering Donnarumma's goal. Ken will be kicking himself. He could have made it 2-0, but skied his 1v1 on the counter. That moment would come back to haunt him as Bosnia deservedly equalized and then went on to win this game via penalties. So instead of Italy, it'll be Bosnia featuring in their first World Cup in 12 years. An incredible achievement for the Balkan nation of just over 3 million people. Although this wasn't a fluke result today. They absolutely destroyed Italy. Sure, the red card completely changed the game, but 11v11, they were also on top too. Bastoni sees red after 41 minutes, yet look at the first half stats overall. The pragmatic approach of Gattuso failed abysmally. But can you honestly be surprised at Gattuso's shortcomings? I mean, this guy has never been an accomplished manager in any capacity. He's been managing for 13 years now. He had 1 title as an interim coach, mind you, and has been sacked from 7 of his 10 previous roles. He'd also never coached internationally prior to getting the Italy job. So the fact that he was hired in the first place just shows how incompetent Italy's football federation actually is. Every aspect of Italian football is falling short. From the coaches they bring in, the talent pool on offer has evidently declined, the Serie A's quality and stature has also declined. It's a circus wherever you look. As an Australian who was previously traumatized by Italy in my childhood, it is a rather cathartic experience seeing Italy fail consistently nowadays, but it's also kind of sad at this point. There's a whole generation of Italian youngsters that are yet to see their country in a World Cup. All they know is a cycle of pain. Meanwhile, Czechia have done it again. Last week, they sent the Republic of Ireland packing via a penalty shootout, and it would be a carbon copy scoreline this week against the Danes, prevailing once more via spot kicks. Another high drama contest. Czechia took the lead on 2 occasions, but Denmark struck back from 2 corners of their own. The away side were arguably the better team today, but went on to miss 3 of their penalties, with Sadlik's strike sealing Czechia's first World Cup appearance in 20 years. Meanwhile, Turkey ended their 24-year absence from the World Cup with a 1-0 win away at Kosovo. The home side fought valiantly. They were looking to make their first ever World Cup and came close to scoring on multiple occasions, but the away side's quality eventually got them over the line as Aktürkoğlu tapped in the winner from close range in the second half. And in the other contest, Graham Potter has successfully guided Sweden to World Cup qualification in a 3-2 thriller over Poland. The Poles came from a goal down on 2 separate occasions, but in the end, Viktor Gyökeres, who remember scored a hat-trick to defeat Ukraine last week, stepped up once again, bagging a late winner to send the home crowd into a frenzy. Crazy scenes. This has got to be the weirdest World Cup qualifying campaign ever. They literally didn't win a single game in qualifying, but thanks to their Nations League performances, earned a backdoor entrance into the playoffs. Bizarre stuff all round. We also had our two Intercontinental playoffs take place today. The Democratic Republic of Congo prevailing over Jamaica in extra time to seal their first World Cup finals appearance since 1974. However, that was formerly under the state of Zaire, so a historic first for the Congolese nation. A special campaign. They eliminated Cameroon, then they eliminated Nigeria before today's result. They absolutely deserve to qualify. And in the other Intercontinental playoff, Iraq v Bolivia, at the time of recording, we're still 2 hours away from kickoff, but by the time this goes out, we'll have determined our 48th and final qualifier. Moving to club football news, and it's been a crazy 72 hours in North London. On Monday, Tottenham's Igor Thiago was sacked in what was a diabolical brief spell in charge. Just one Premier League point in his 44 days at the helm. A disastrous appointment if you've ever seen one. So now, with the club in uncharted territory, they have taken a seismic gamble in appointing Roberto De Zerbi on a 5-year contract. The Italian immediately steps into one of the most chaotic environments out there with one immediate priority: survival. But the timing of De Zerbi's arrival is a contradiction within itself, because he is a coach whose methodology typically requires time as players gradually buy into his ideas, yet he now inherits a dressing room that cannot afford even a short adaptation period. His early spell at Brighton paints a concerning picture. 0 wins in his first 5 matches in charge as players grappled with complex positional play. Replicating that trajectory at Spurs would almost certainly result in relegation. Tactically speaking, it's also a radical shift. His football is defined by controlled build-up, positional rotations, and risk-heavy progression through the backline. A bit like Ange Ball, really. In a more stable environment, this is exciting stuff, right? In Tottenham's current state, however, the risk is significant. Asking a struggling team to play high-risk football in a relegation battle is an enormous gamble, though there are some indications he may initially adopt a more pragmatic approach. Equally significant is the personality dynamic. De Zerbi is intense, obsessive, and confrontational, traits that have driven both his success and his volatility. His training sessions are notoriously demanding, and his management style can be explosive, as seen during his time at Marseille. This raises immediate concerns at Tottenham, where Tudor's similarly abrasive approach had already alienated sections of the squad. While some players may respond to De Zerbi's intensity in a positive light, others may struggle, particularly in a high-pressure relegation battle. Beyond tactics and temperament, the appointment is also overshadowed by controversy. During his time at Marseille, De Zerbi publicly defended Mason Greenwood, describing him as a good guy who had, quote, paid dearly for what had happened, and adding that he knew someone different from what's being described, especially in England. Now, I'm not interested in debating the validity of Greenwood criticism and De Zerbi's apology to the Englishman. I genuinely think it's embarrassing that people defend this guy, but there's a lot of sad little manlets out there that have no ethical framework whatsoever. It is what it is. Several Spurs supporter groups have condemned this appointment, so De Zerbi is now tasked with not only trying to keep Spurs up, but also navigating reputational scrutiny off the pitch. In a club already dealing with instability, fan division over the manager's previous comments could become another destabilizing factor down the line. Another factor to consider is that De Zerbi is not easy to work with behind the scenes. The Italian has a history of friction with club hierarchies, leaving both Brighton and Marseille following disagreements over control and long-term vision. Spurs are notoriously not great when it comes to supporting their managers too, so I can definitely envisage a scenario where tensions arise. That being said, there is a compelling upside to his appointment. If he can get over the line short term, I think that's his biggest hurdle, then I don't think there's a more appropriate fit in terms of what Spurs want in their ideal manager long term. A leader that is ambitious in his playing style and has seen previous success elsewhere in the Premier League. We clown on Tottenham a lot, and for good reason too, but there are some phenomenal talents within this underperforming group of players, some of which could become elite in the future. So all in all, it's a complicated appointment to make sense of. In the short term, it is a survival mission first and foremost, and I'm curious as to how he approaches this unprecedented scenario. In the long term, however, if he survives, it seems as though Spurs are yearning for a clear football identity under an elite level tactical mind. But this mind is also prone to stepping out of line on occasion and has a not so great past either. But I'm curious as to what your perspectives on De Zerbi are. Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, guys, that's all for today's DMAC Daily. Appreciate you tuning in as always, and I'll see you next time.